The end of the old world is predetermined. Our ship, planet Earth, continues to move along the route to the new age. But it moves strangely, in small shocks, as if something is holding it back. Look overboard! It's the old world that's got a deadly grip on the ship and won't let it out of the harbor of rigid worldviews. This is how a deadly wounded animal behaves when, in a premonition of impending death, it resists with a frenzied rage over its weakness. He resists in vain. The evolutionary plan cannot be stopped. The end of the old world is predetermined. And now we can see the true face of the beast. The masks are being thrown off. The old forces are now acting openly, no longer hiding their immoral actions behind high-flying ideological slogans. As much as we would like to avoid delays, we will have to slow down and figure out what the old world, in which we seem to have lived quite comfortably, really is, and compare it with what awaits us in the new world. And then make the final choice. As if anyone else is in doubt. Again, our guide Saint-Germain cheers us on. You have to change your consciousness and attitude to everything around you, because the new age will be based on entirely new principles. And if you stick to fear, individualism, and limitations, then you will be left behind. You will fail to keep up with the train of evolution. The new age will be characterized by community, freedom, and relationships that are based on love and friendship. Transformation of consciousness and thinking. This is what must be done first. Turn on the mind and start comparing. Old world thinking is based on human laws. There are a huge number of these laws, and they are constantly changing. The moral bar in society is constantly lowered, and the laws become more immoral, more absurd, adjusting to our reality. Today's human legislation resembles an ugly monster with 1,000 hands and multiple heads. The divine law, which the masters of wisdom speak about, does not change. It is millions of years old. It doesn't have many standpoints. The divine law states that man, in addition to the physical body, has a higher, immortal part. That our life, which we now live on earth, is neither the first nor the last one. And that our immortal part, according to the law of reincarnation, is reincarnated many times. The events that happen to us today and will happen in the future depend on what we have done in the past, in the current life as well as in previous incarnations. What you sow, you reap. This is the law of karma, or the law of cause and effect. The three pillars of the divine law are the highest moral law, the law of karma, and the law of reincarnation. Everything else is a consequence of these three standpoints of the divine teaching. In modern society, all aspirations and achievements are centered around material prosperity and the pleasures of the physical world, whereby the idea of consumption dominates them. In the new world, everything is subject to divine law. Concentration on the divine allows a person to develop harmoniously in spiritual and moral terms. Needs become more natural as fear and greed for profit disappear. The old thinking sees enemies in everything. The enemy can be anyone, a neighbor, housing and communal services, the government, foreign countries. And as soon as there is an enemy, it must be fought. Fighting breeds anger, aggression, and hatred. Non-violence will be a priority for the new thinking. There is no need to fight. We need to look around and see how many people need the help that we can provide. The main qualities of a person with a high level of consciousness are love, mercy, and compassion. The highest manifestation will be service to the people, not to live only for oneself, but also for others. We can compare further. Now let's figure out what else the old world didn't like about the evolutionary path of development. Creation of a goatling. The goddess of mercy and compassion, Kuan Yin, says that the imperfection and selfishness of the old thinking is manifested in absolutely all spheres of life. There are deviations from the divine path of development in all spheres of human activity. The system of education not so much educates the future generations as much as it deprives them of their wish to learn and to self-perfect in God. The public health service takes away the rest of people's health. The financial system is not tied to the results of creative labor, but to the mental and emotional swings of the people who gamble on the stock exchange and manage funds. The political system is completely detached from people's needs, and serving the weak and poor members of society is replaced by serving the personal interests of separate individuals. Mass media spreads anything except information. Rumors, gossip, scandals, and criminal stories. All spheres of human activity should be transformed in accordance with the divine law. Otherwise, they will not be able to exist. Mankind has arrived at such a point of its development where non-existence is already clearly evident. Why do things go wrong in all spheres of society? Our understanding should begin with the question, who the main director of the current scenario is. These are not the presidents, politicians, and specialists, but those forces in whose hands the main funds are concentrated, and who redistribute profits and cash flows in such a way that they are the only ones benefiting from them. They are the ones who have the real power. The vanguard of these forces is the mass media, that skillfully manipulate the minds of the masses, sow in fear and panic. The media inflame hysteria between countries and emotionally terrorize the world's population with news about the coronavirus and other horrors. Feature films are filled with violence, their characters seemingly defeating the principles of good, but in reality, killing everyone right and left. Even through cartoons, our children are harassed. Under the powerful informational, in fact disinformational pressure, people forget how to think, get depressed and neurotic, and are panicked into buying television sets, buckwheat, and toilet paper. How can we not remember the Russian folktale about Sister Alonushka and Brother Ivanushka? Do not drink from the impure source, or you will become a goatling. Alonushka warned her brother, but he did not listen and turned into a goatling. In every house, we have our own impure source, the screen of a constantly playing TV, laptop, or smartphone. The creation of baby goats is put on stream. Excessive consumption creates climate change on the planet and mountains of waste that can no longer be processed. There are only two ways out of this situation. Either reduce the number of consumers, as the world's financial elite explicitly state, or reduce the level of consumption, change our thinking, and act consciously in harmony with nature. This is what the Ascended Masters say. The internal controls the external. The world is governed either by love or by fear. What is inside of us will be manifested on the outside. We are the creators of our present and our future. The outer obediently repeats your inner state. Only the degree of your inner achievements opens the path to further evolution for you. The resistance to the external illusory forces must be surmounted in your consciousness. When people are not developed, they come out on the streets, organize revolutions, and overthrow the government. I am teaching you to transform the external by means of changing the internal. This is the path along which the Ascended Masters lead you. Soothing your inner storms leads to calming the external hurricanes. The internal controls the external. The power of spirit rules the world. That is why our opposing forces do everything in order for your spirit to become silent. This war against your spirit does not stop even for a moment. If we stay in the old world, we will simply lose our soul. So which world do we choose? Old or new? The answer is obvious. The end of the old world is sealed.